Yeah.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, just give me that countryside.
That is where I'd rather stay. I get allergic smelling hay. Just adore penthouse view. Darling, I love you. Give me Park Avenue. So good.
The George.
The Strokes.
Fresh air.
Trump Tower.
You are my wife.
Goodbye, City Line. Green Acres, we are there.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
This is Anonymous. I'm here to speak to you about this wonderful podcast and to tell you that Anonymous supports all forms of civil disobedience. We are a group of many with the voice of one Anonymous. It has come to our attention that many of you Spudnuckers fail to realize how important it is to form together as a movement and protest any of the Donald's agendas, as he is an elitist must be stopped. Let me start by telling you that Anonymous has several documents, videos, audio recordings, and pictures that can discredit our new president. We choose when such items will be released and we will choose only after the American people show the balls to stand up for what they believe in. Whoops, got something stuck in my teeth. Damn communist beef jerky. Anyways, let me continue. Where was I? Damn, mom turned down that fricking TV. To continue, we support Ken and Frank for they have honest opinions unlike those jerks on Fox News and Whoopi Goldberg. I ask you to add your name to the American People's Now / the People's Uprising website's wall by going to woodwardken.wixsite.com / the People's Uprising and to lend your voice to this important podcast. Sparky, stop humping my leg, I'm trying to broadcast, damn mutt. So to continue, we are a force of the will of the people and we will never be muted. The policies of the elite must be stopped at all cost. That reminds me, I need to update my Netflix account. Seriously, those fuckers will screw up my bank account if I don't, and besides I can't afford to miss the next episode of Ice Road Truckers. Okay, where was I? Oh, now on to the most important agenda. The Russians have been responsible for the biggest hacking in world history and we must make them pay. As of now, I personally will no longer visit Russia and its amazing hookers. That will show them, I think. Also, the people must continue to protest Trump and the Republican Party's attempts to repeal Obamacare. Without this important health care, many hookers will be unable to afford condoms and we will all eventually die of syphilis. Damn, Rhonda is texting me again. Stupid slut, it only happened one time, I mean really. To continue, we are anonymous, we do not forgive, we do not, wait, oh yeah, we do not forget. Dear Mr. Trump, you are a bigot, a womanizer, and most of all you suck turds. Now that you are in the Oval Office you will have nowhere to hide, we will be there, behind the curtain, underneath the desk, around every corner and even at the cafeteria. Everything you say will be made public. Wait, you already do that shit on Twitter, anyways even more so. Sparky, damn, that was mom's new rug, shit, we're both screwed. To continue, like I said, we have documents, not like the documents in those crappy yellow folders during your press conference, but real documents, like you're so screwed. I have all them saved on my USB memory, yes, right here. Wait, damn, I think Tommy borrowed it because it had a download of Bad Moms. Anyways, when he returns it, and that shithead better, cause season 6 of Shameless is on that fricking thing and Fiona is so ass-licking hot. Anyways, well then sir, you are fucked. To continue, and audio recordings of you, yes, like the time you left those silly Christmas recordings on your voicemail. I mean really man, those were so bad I would have thought Santa Claus would have come down your chimney and gave you a beat down good. And yes, TMZ had some really good shit, but they don't have one of the time you were placed third in line at Carlisle restaurant. You told those fuckers to go outside and stick their cocks in their assholes, like that is really possible, not. Oh boy, just a second, have to Google getting dog piss out of a rug. Good job Sparky, you lame excuse for a Russian poodle. Whoops, no excuse me, I don't own a Russian poodle, I meant a American hound dog. To continue, pictures, oh yes pictures, well I had some amazing pictures of Trump and many prostitutes peeing on the bed the Obamas slept in Moscow, but damn Sparky peed on them, I gotta find a new home for that piece of shit dog. But wait, okay, I do have pictures of the Donald doing his business at Carlisle's right next to a dumpster, it gave new meaning to the phrase dump Trump. To continue, we are anonymous and we will never stop till we bring back democracy or at least stop the Star Wars saga. We're like Meryl Streep on steroids, unless of course she already is, then more like Michael Moore on a weight loss program. We are pissed and hungry. Now is the time for action, protest, organize, listen to this podcast and become a part of the wall, become a member, become an administrator, and whatever you do, stop photobombing us on YouTube. I mean seriously dude, that ain't whack. Oh shit, mom's home and I promised her I was making macaroni, haven't even boiled the fucking water yet, gotta go. I am anonymous, shit I mean we are anonymous, we do not forgive, we do not forget, take care motherfuckers.
Close your eyes and pretend it's all a bad dream. That's how I get by.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of Politics, Pop Culture, and Carnage. Oh, a lot to cover. So much to cover. But I'm going to boil it down to two topics to make it easier for me tonight, because my brain would explode if I went over every single topic tonight of importance. Maybe a third, an option play, so to speak, in my repertoire as a quarterback at the podcast microphone here. But I'll save that one more toward the end. Two topics I want to discuss tonight are obviously the main topic, the COMEY testimony that occurred yesterday, and the results that occurred after that, the post-avalanche, so to speak. And tonight, what happened tonight with a very centralized figure in the mindset of my politics. Even though he's a comedian, I still respect his political viewpoint and his show, Bill Maher, and the fire he came under for the previous week's show, and the response he gave to that with response to using the N-word on live TV. So those are the two main topics we're going to go over. And in no particular order. I may throw some more shit out there. I hope not, as my mind will wander occasionally to other situations whenever I discuss politics, as it is hard to focus. Usually, and if you heard the first PPC podcast, the briefest explanation I can give on why I no longer do this podcast but by myself, as I started out by myself. And then I brought Frank into this podcast because I thought bouncing some points of view would work, but I'm being the alpha, as I am, in any discussions political, it just didn't work. It didn't jive. Plus the fact that now that Frank has his own Voice of the Voiceless podcast going, that I'm not a frequent member, frequent guest. I am the only guest most of the time, and every single time. So if I want to go through that concept or use that type of podcast, I have that available to me anyway. So this is just a brief intro, and in most intros I'm going to give to you, we start with the events of the week. The events being, of course, the big events actually started happening on Wednesday with the intelligence chiefs telling us that they had nothing to say, basically. Which I'm sure only furthered the cinders to the fire of James Comey's testimony, because we knew he was not going to have that viewpoint. He wasn't going to say, I have nothing to say. He's going to have a lot to say. And boy, lordy, did he ever. And then we had the Bill Maher show last Friday that caused a huge uproar. Bad timing on Bill's part, especially after what Kathy Griffin and the uproar she had caused over her Photoshop with a severed head of President Trump in her hand. Severed, bloody head, I should say. Although I think those two kind of go hand in hand, don't you think? Unless he was a zombie, there's going to be blood. Although the jury might still be out there. And the backlash that she got, which caused her to lose her prominent position as the female lead to Ryan Seacrest's New Year's Eve rock and roll. Certainly disappointed she must be. Now she can actually enjoy New Year's Eve for a change. And using that same summation, there was concern for Bill Maher fans that the same might happen to him with HBO. Those of us who know him long enough on his program and go back to politically correct, or politically incorrect, pardon me, which he probably got canned for being too politically incorrect on. We're concerned as well about his job status, and that show is vitally important to me. It is the only show I still think has the feel of real journalism in that it allows both opinions to be expressed, albeit with Bill's voice being the alpha like mine on set. Still, nonetheless, the opportunity to give Republicans and Democrats the same setting to discuss their opinions is not being done often enough on any of the networks. So be it. Kudos to HBO for being heads-uppy enough to understand that concept working well. So a little music, and then we're back, and we will go over ever so non-briefly the testimony from James Comey, not word for word. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with all, with verbatim, just my opinion, and you can make your own opinions from that. If you already have made your own opinions, hopefully I can change a few of them, and brief you a little bit gently into this nightmare stance that Republicans now have to make in defending this idiot. Thank you. This is PPTC 3 on the air, June 10th of this year, 2017.
Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning?
Okay, so as you may have been watching a lot of over the last 48 hours of this testimony, which become what is pecan? I don't even know why I have pecan on my mind. Became kind of a political Super Bowl, really. You have people lining up at bars at 9 o'clock in the morning to have a few cocktails while we watched a celebrity roast of Donald Trump. Celebrity being James Comey. As with any of these kind of proceedings, I'm maybe more experienced in regards to expectations than the casual viewer who watches these breaking stories. You see breaking news across the bottom of your screen, and at this point, what the hell is breaking news? Because as far as I can see, every single thing that's been happening over the course of the last 8 to 10 years has been breaking news. So, my expectations were much lower, I'm certain, is what I'm trying to say, than most casual viewer would probably have had Thursday. In other words, you have the person whom I actually thought that this is going to lead to the impeachment, and we could actually see Donald Trump in handcuffs being walked out of the White House after James Comey's testimony, compared to a more visual belief that a lot of nothing would happen as usual, and we'd have to basically with tweezers pull out some sort of a story that was different from what we were hearing before his testimony, if that makes sense. As even Trump himself, his defense attorney pointed out, nothing new was actually brought up, other than the Trumpster. He's vindicated. Comey himself, not part of the investigation, 3 separate occasions, vindicated. And in a sense, I can't deny that's not true, because James Comey actually did say that. He actually did say, yes, in a personal discussion with Donald Trump, told him, yes, he was not under investigation, and over the phone, and to my colleagues, I said the same. And that part of it was probably a big downer for a lot of people, but the upside being, even though he's not now a part of the current investigation, he's pretty sure that there's some investigating going on with the president in terms of obstruction of justice. And that's an important distinction that he made, that even though not new news, is important that he, the former director of the FBI, whom was fired under unusual circumstances, and we'll just leave it at that for right now, did believe that Donald Trump is under investigation currently, and the likelihood of that is because of obstruction of justice, which means, if you want to just pull the words out of his mouth, he obviously has reason to believe that there was obstruction of justice. Otherwise, he wouldn't say the FBI is sure. They're probably investigating the president now for that. And again, the casual viewer who's looking for the smoking gun here, I was at least, my expectations levels being much lower than that, was not surprised there was no smoking gun. But I was mildly surprised that the defense attorney for Donald Trump, who was not the White House counsel, this is a private attorney, the White House counsel and other attorneys turned down the opportunity to defend the president in this regard. Of course, he sugarcoated it by saying, he's my personal attorney, he's worked with me all my career, and of course he's going to be my attorney for this. No. He's basically the guy who drew the short straw. Give Trump only one positive attribute he has gained since becoming a politician. He is now understanding what spin is. And if he can learn that, he might actually survive this disaster. Although I highly doubt he can learn much more than what he's already learned. And he proves that with every tweet. Again, the defense attorney for Donald Trump, making the point that Comey had affirmed that he had actually told Donald Trump he was not part of the investigation, something the White House counsel would have probably left be, would have left it sit, would not go on record saying anything. As a defense attorney, I think even if you watch even the most minute cases, it's best, even no matter what is said, that a defense attorney should probably not go on record after a hearing and actually make comments toward the remarks made by the person speaking at the hearing. It's just not common. Not common. It opens up too many trap doors for later defenses and gives prosecutors and the public opportunity to go through those trap doors. The best just not to say shit. That's all I'm saying about that. Because on one hand, the media immediately grabbed hold of this defense attorney's comments and shook it good. They're good at that. That's why he shouldn't have said shit. Because now they're saying, wait a minute, on one hand, you're calling Comey a liar, but on the other hand, when he says something positive about the president, he's not lying then. He's only lying when he's saying something bad about the president, not when he's saying something good about the president. So you're basically saying that Comey's out to get President Trump. The man who got fired by President Trump is out to get him and will commit perjury in order to do that. And then on top of that, today, finally, the Trumpster speaks, and as usual, puts his foot deep inside his mouth and just completely says the most insane thing. The most any politician would have walked away from this burning fire disaster and just said, enough's enough. I've got some positive from my defense attorney tap dance. I don't need to do anything more today. I need to take the focus off it by not saying more about it. This investigation. No, I will. He said 100% in response to a journalist's question whether he would go under oath. Tell basically his side of the story. 100%, yeah, sure, I will. Yeah, 100%. Just looking at the record of some of the comments that Donald Trump has made about not just Comey and not just the Russian investigation, but about the media's coverage and Russia's involvement, basically saying it's a non-story, by the way, Russia's involvement. It's fake news. Disregarding the most important security concern in our country's history, electorally. Basically just brushing it off the rug. He has changed his story on so many occasions on this that he's just basically set himself up for perjury. When you tell Lester Holt on CBS News, yeah, I was thinking about the Russian investigation when I fired James Comey. Wow. He should have had a V8. God damn. And now I'm going to go and testify that I didn't think about the Russian investigation when I was considering firing James Comey. The unusual circumstances. And yes, I'm going to take both sides here only to make the point, because you cannot make a point taking a one-sided opinion. Yes, it was inappropriate for James Comey to have these discussions with the president, and he should have made that point very clear from the very beginning. But remember what this guy is doing. He's investigating possible collusion between Trump election officials, and Russian officials. And in doing so has to take into some consideration that it may go all the way to the top of the Trump campaign. And we know who's there. And he's in the office now speaking with you about Michael Flynn, as well as the involvement of the FBI into investigating the Russian investigation over people who are leaking information that are putting this big cloud over his ability to administrate the office of the United States President. And the words I want to use continuously consider over the next course of the next 2-3 months, maybe 4, 5, 6 months, is a defense for the president, and look at it from his side as his defense, and what would be the best defense for him to have. And in this particular case, there's 2 words that are often used, especially when dealing in government situations, government discussions, things that are being discussed are about matters of things being done illegally, whether it's actually the person you're talking to who's done it illegally, or maybe he knows people who've done things that were illegal and has set to make sure they're not caught by covering that up. The most important words that can be used in a defense is plausible deniability. And in this case, what I thought when I listened to the Comey hearing, the thing that came to me immediately was plausible deniability had to be in the back mind of Donald Trump whenever he had any discussion with James Comey. Plausible deniability. In other words, to take it to an extreme, just for fucking shits and giggles, let's take it to an extreme. Let's go back to February 14th, and Freebus and Kushner have been said, bye-bye, Sessions and Kushner, bye-bye, I don't want you in here for this meeting, which they reluctantly left, by the way, which should give you some clue as to their mindset on whether this was a good idea or not by Mr. Trump. Especially Jeff Sessions, a former attorney, and now acting U.S. General Attorney. This was not a good idea. But nonetheless, he asked them to leave. And it was just him and James Comey. And as the director of the FBI, I'm going to surmise just a tad, maybe more of a stretch than it should be, but I think that if anyone in the government positions in the White House would have believed there was a actual tape recorder taping a conversation, it would be the top cop in the country, the FBI director, who would have been able to surmise immediately whether or not his conversation was being taped. Not only physically knowing whether or not there's a tape recorder in the room, but by the way that the president was talking to him. I've tried not to use this too much in my consideration of these events. But let's face it, even though he's smarter than he talks, we hope, it's become much more and more apparent over the course of the last 5 months, especially, that this is not one of the brightest, most intelligent presidents that we've ever had. And that's not to down other presidents. It's just to give you an idea that if Donald Trump felt that if Donald Trump was recording a conversation with a very intelligent person James Comey, his leads would have been easily figured out by someone whose job it was to tell someone is lying. So we're going to go into that meeting, February 14th, and I'm going to change things up a little bit to give you perspective on how this plausible deniability is one of the best defenses a person can have in a case where illegal ongoings are occurring that he has knowledge of. But before I do that, a little break. I need to take a break, and you need to take a break, and put ourselves in the right mindset of being in that Oval Office on February 14th, 2017. A little music. Cue.
It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and it sure has caused a fuss. The commander-in-chief tried to be a thief and to steal our rights from us. Well, it started in the Watergate on the 17th of June. 5 guys tried to bug and hide, but the cops showed up too soon. Now the president and all his men said they sure could be a trap, but old John Mitchell, that son of a bitch, will find a way to beat this rap. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and they said need have no fear, for a commander-in-chief to become a thief could never happen here. Now the number of a White House phone in McCord and Barker's keep, and all that cash to support this bash from down the road at Creep. And the papers being shred at night, this all did seem quite clear, but little Ron Z got on TV and said it weren't no one here. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, an operative he cries. A commander-in-chief who becomes a thief has a funny name for lies. It's a bizarre incident, he said, that we would never do, but the other guys got bugs and spies, and they all do it too. It's a third-rate burglary, said Dick, I'm sure that's all it meant, but what the heck did you expect from a third-rate president? It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, its plot could fill a book, when the commander-in-chief turns out to be a thief and a constitutional crook. Now some folks there upon the hill said, I think I smell a rat. And they said to Sam, it's a hell of a jam, you'd best look into that. His committee heard an awful tale, it brought the White House woe. They're on TV for all to see on Sam and Howard show. It was on TV, Sam told those guys when he put them to the gun. Now you broke the law and you'd best tell all of the things that you have done. Then he took the Bill of Rights and said, you'll find in this here deed in black and white that it ain't right, that's if you all can read. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and it sure has caused a fuss. The commander-in-chief tried to be a thief and to steal our rights from us. So the mighty men have fallen low, they surely had a nerve. A bunch of fools who defied the rules, may they get what they deserve. But there's still one man who began it all, in whose name it was done. It's come the day someone must pay, and Dick Nixon's the one. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, it's hard to read the news. When the commander-in-chief tries to be a thief, we all must pay the dues. Now Watergate was bad enough, but here's another stink. It's a White House deal to break and steal on Daniel Ellsberg shrink. Cause they couldn't stand what he had done when he showed for all our eyes that what they swore about the Asian war was another pack of lies. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and now it's plain to see that the commander-in-chief tried to be a thief and invade our privacy. It's a story we might never know, except for one small thing. They said we ought to save every thought of Richard M. the King. Now you might not be too thrilled to find Big Brother watching you, so if you care, he makes it fair and bugs his own place too. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and now we know the score. When the commander-in-chief turns out to be a thief, it must be 1984. Now you could help me sing this song, but you might offend their pride. On the enemy's list you'll turn and twist if you're not on their side. So let's ask the band to play one song for the men who brought this grief. If I had my way, the song they'd play is Jail to the Chief. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and it sure has caused a fuss. The commander-in-chief tried to be a thief and to steal our rights from us. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Abe Lincoln said that. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. John Mitchell said that. I am not a crook. Richard Nixon said that. It's the Watergate story, and it sure is gory, and we must without a doubt. When a commander-in-chief turns out to be a thief, just throw the rascal out.
Sarcasm is anger's ugly cousin. From now on, unacceptable.
Okay. We're in the Oval Office. You are there. You're James Comey. Put yourself in James Comey's shoes. First of all, you are investigating possible collusion between Trump campaign officials and Russian officials to basically overthrow an election. Because what the concern would be between the collusion of these two groups is that the Russians couldn't do it by themselves. They didn't know where to target, what people in the United States, areas of the country in the United States, to target to hurt Hillary Clinton the most. If they had the demographics, if they had the actual statistics, that would make a world of difference on how they would go about hacking these emails and using them successfully. So the consideration by the FBI during this investigation had to be, was there a need for Russia to, first of all, collude with Trump officials? Because if there was no need to do that, if they could do the damage without them, then that collusion doesn't exist. But if there is a need for them to do that, then that collusion could exist. And the person who's at the very top of that chain, and the Trump campaign being Donald Trump, would he have been aware of that? Now, we're going to go into that foggy area a little later, but this is your mindset as your James Comey, is that, this is unusual. He's asking the Attorney General and one of his top aides to leave to have a personal discussion with me. And first of all, remember, this is happening while James Comey is feathering on asking for more funds to further along the investigation, and is under the assumption that he's been told by the president that the president was more than willing and was happy to have him stay on as the FBI director. His job is secure. So these are the thoughts that will go through your mind, James Comey. Now, I'm not going to give you a discussion that happened because I'm trying to prove how plausible deniability works. This is a word that came to me. I don't edit this stuff. I don't go back and change my fucking shit. I just talk to you straight. I think about what I'm going to say over the course of a 2 or 3 day period. In this case, a 2 day period. I'm usually at work when I'm thinking about this stuff, and it just kind of hits my head, and I say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about during my podcast. This is okay. Maybe not this, but this. There's always will be at least 2 or 3 key things I do want to get out there. And it just struck me kind of funny, watching the political coverage, the media coverage of politics, and especially today, that this has not been brought up. Nobody's brought up plausible deniability as a defense mechanism that could explain how the conversation went down between James Comey and Donald Trump. And it makes all the sense in the world. That's why it went down like it did. Why everything was kind of vague. Why it was not, it was a feathered approach to solving a problem that the President, Donald Trump, had with James Comey, without putting yourself in a position to directly, it would have been a hell of a hearing. James Comey says that Donald Trump basically said, no, Donald Trump walked in, talked to me, and said, either you drop this investigation in Russia or you're fired. That would have been the smoking gun. What all of you people who have these high expectations, who are not used to these kind of situations, who don't follow politics as often as I do, would have wanted, would have hoped for, would have expected to happen. I knew that wasn't going to happen, okay? I expected some disappointment. I expected some positive spin from the Republican side and the White House, which I got. But here's how plausible deniability works, to give you a weird example, something way off there. Let's say, okay, Jeff, Jared, leave the room. I got to talk to James here. James. Okay, they're gone. Okay. James, I just got to tell you, this Justin Bieber kid, irritating, just irritating. Wouldn't it be great if someone with the power to do it could just kill Justin Bieber? I mean, oh my God, yes. Oh, it would be fantastic. I would feel my ears would be so relieved. I'd be this cloud of Justin Bieber over all our heads, my head particularly, would be gone. Wouldn't that just be great? And I understand you know, it would be great. You know, if somebody who's very powerful could do that. Oh, by the way, James, you like your job, don't you? I'm hoping you want to stay on and keep doing your job. I just want to get it off my chest there, James. Jared's a big Justin Bieber fan, so I couldn't let him hear that. And Jeff, he's a big fucking blabbermouth. And that would have been the meeting. Now, if Justin Bieber's still alive 2 weeks later, sorry to disappoint, and suddenly James gets, a little letter, I appreciate you showing your loyalty to me by at least saying, by at least admitting to me and giving me the information I needed. That was not an investigation, and such, but you're fired. And I know this sounds stupid, but let's just think about it. Look for James Comey's mind here. Look at James Comey and consider his position at this point, having been fired just shortly after this conversation with the president. Now, if somebody else had killed Justin Bieber, he'd be off the hook probably, right? He probably felt he'd still have a job. But because he didn't go out and hire someone to kill Justin Bieber, he's been shit-canned. But if you take... Now, that's a fucking weird scenario, I know. But now take the legalities of it. The legalities being, if this was recorded, if this was actually taped, or if during his testimony he was asked, what if, he was asked, what if Justin Bieber had been killed? Let's put it that way, maybe easier. Justin Bieber's been killed. But it's hasn't proven it was the FBI. So they have a hearing to bring James Comey in and ask him, did the president ask you to kill Justin Bieber? Well, James Comey couldn't really say he did, could he? He could say that the president thought it would be great if Justin Bieber had been killed. He could say Justin Bieber was a cloud over the administration and the president's ears, and without him, everything could work better. But he couldn't say the president told him to kill Justin Bieber. It's plausible deniability. The main thing that makes it plausible deniability that is still under this question mark is what was discussed after the president says, wouldn't it be great if this thing was done? And inferring that, you have the power to make this thing happen. James Comey. That's not saying do it. But when you add, do you like your job? Do you want to stay on with us? That's that gray area. Because that's implying that unless you kill Justin Bieber, there's a good chance you might lose your job. And let's put Bieber out of it because he's still alive and he's never going to be killed by the FBI. We don't think. And back to the Russian thing. That's the way Trump described Russia to James Comey. It was this dark cloud over his administration that was stopping him from getting his job done. Was such an impedance. And he knew the person he was talking to was the person who could make that impedance go away. And followed it up with, do you like your job? Do you want to stay on? And also said, there are plenty of people who'd want your job. Now, James Comey's not an employee per se of Donald Trump. But in a way, anyone who has the power to fire you is your boss. Regardless of whether he's involved in hiring you or not, if he's in the position to fire you, he's your boss. And these two conversations should not have been involved in the same conversation. That's what makes it wrong. But Donald Trump understood. Whether he was coached or not, I'm not sure. I said, I'm not going to call him the smartest cookie in the box, but he knows business. He knows how things work in regards to power structure and things that you can do or can't do, because he's tried to do things he can't do. He's tried to fire cooks and chefs and waitress staff and workers. And even mentioned on a few occasions it was racist. But he knows how to get around that because he understands the very concept of plausible deniability. And perhaps that's why he's comfortable saying, yeah, 100%, I'll go on an oath. I'll tell my side of the story. Because he really didn't ask James Comey to drop the Russian investigation or he'd be fired. He inferred it. Now, what James Comey does, that's what he's thinking to himself. What James Comey does after I give him this information, that's his situation. It's not mine. But I've given him proper warning, and then makes the fatal mistake, firing James Comey. Under the advice of his son-in-law, and I'm certain against the advice of a lot of advisors, including Jeff Sessions, he fires James Comey. I'm certain Jeff Sessions probably, if I could have been a fly on the wall of those conversations they had, especially after that, please leave the room, Jeff. And why he was reluctant to do so was because he understood this was going to open up a can of worms that didn't need to be opened up. James Comey was never going to find President Trump guilty of anything. Richard Nixon wasn't guilty of Watergate. Understand that first. Richard Nixon did not resign because he was guilty of Watergate. Now, was he? Sounds a lot like he was, but we're never going to be able to prove that. The reason they were able to prove he was guilty wasn't that he did Watergate, that his efforts to cover it up found him guilty. Obstruction of justice. Now, if Richard Nixon had not attempted to obstruct justice, would there have been a paper trail that would have got a lot of people he knew in big trouble? Yes. Would he have gotten impeached? Possibly. But the FBI got thrown a huge freaking cookie when he made every effort in the book to cover it up. Because what happens in the White House is when people lie, it's one thing. When other people lie, it's another thing. But when you've got these people lying, it's kind of like this domino effect. One lie on top of another lie, and on top of a lie. Suddenly you're covering up the cover up the cover up. If you understand what I'm saying. You're covering up one lie with another lie, and it just mounts and mounts and mounts. That's what's happening right here in front of our very eyes, folks. It is not whether or not Donald Trump knew that his campaign people were colluding with Russians, using the data, and possibly now we're even hearing, possibly even knowledgeable that the Russians were going to try to hack into actual election voter machines, and using this data with that to sway the election to make sure that Hillary Clinton didn't win. Because, by the way, this was not about Donald Trump winning. This was about Hillary Clinton not winning. Okay? And if you look at the way the Vladimir Putin-Trump relationship has suddenly chilled, you can see that all the Russians were trying to do was a three-pronged attack. Not to get off subject, but we should. At least I should explain that. Three-pronged attack, which is, it wasn't about Donald Trump winning. It wasn't like he was their man. Okay? He was the easiest person to manipulate because he has debts with Russia that even his sons have admitted to. So, obviously, he was the better, in their opinion, where our opinion was the lesser of two evils was Hillary. In their opinion, the lesser of two evils was Donald. But this was not a campaign to make Donald Trump president. This was a campaign to make sure Hillary Clinton did not become president. Let's make that very clear. The second prong of the attack was to hurt our faith in our electoral process, in our democratic process, to make us question our very electoral process. And the third prong is to lift the sanctions any ways necessary off of Russia so their economy can benefit from that. And Hillary was not going to do that. But Donald Trump's making the same mistakes as Richard M. Nixon. He's banking on a different era being the difference. He's banking on American ignorance to be the difference. He's banking on his base. The base he told, frankly, in an actual campaign speech, I could go out in the middle of the road right now and shoot someone's baby and they still vote for me. So when we sit here and we get so pissed off about this president who embarrasses us, who makes us look stupid, who's getting nothing done but helping the rich, and who bamboozled all these people into believing he was on their side for the working man, for jobs, security, illegal immigration, big wall, big wall, big wall. Nobody will climb this wall. It's us who should be embarrassed. That's how I'm going to conclude this first half. And you can hate me for it if you want, but it's us. It's not Trump. It's us. We're the ones who should be embarrassed. We allowed this to happen. We allowed someone to use the race card in an election in the year 2016. We allowed the race card to be part of an election after we had elected a black president. We allowed this to be about class. We allowed this to be about ignorance. So before you get too pissed off at Donald Trump and call him the problem, those of you who voted for him, and those of you who did not vote for him but did not vote for Hillary either, or those of you who did not vote period, should take a long hard look in that mirror. And if you're not in line 2018 for the midterm elections, then shut the fuck up.
I'm the Secretary of State. Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Why do you keep saying that?
Because they pay me every time I do. It's a really good way to make money. You're so smart, why don't you know that?
Walking through forests of palm tree apartments, scoff at the monkeys who live in their dark tents. Down by the water hole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday. Lions and tigers who wait in the shadows, they're fast but they're lazy and sleep in green meadows. Well, let's bungle in the jungle. Well, that's alright by me, yes. Well, I'm a tiger when I want love, but I'm a snake if we disagree. Just say a word and the boys will be right there with claws at your back to send a chill through the night. Is it so frightening to have me at your shoulder? Thunder and lightning couldn't be bolder. I'll write on your tombstone, I thank you for dinner. This game that we animals play is the winner. Well, let's bungle in the jungle. Well, that's alright by me, yes. I'm a tiger when I want love. I'm a snake if we disagree. The rivers are full of crocodile nasties, and he who made kittens put snakes in the grass. He's a lover of life, but a player of pawns. Yes, the king on his sunset lies waiting for dawn to light up his jungle as players resume. The monkeys see willing to strike up the tune. Well, let's bungle in the jungle. Well, that's alright by me, yes. I'm a tiger when I want love. I'm a snake when we disagree, yes. Let's bungle in the jungle. Well, it's alright by me, yes. Well, I'm a tiger when I want love. I'm a snake when we disagree. Well, let's bungle in the jungle. Well, it's alright by me, yes.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? I am the doctor. I took one look out here and saw fear. I don't know, how about, how would you feel being the last dope fiend? There's an old civil rights axiom that the weakest link in any civil rights case is always the defendant. Yeah, imagine being a lawyer and getting a call from me. That's why I try to behave myself. And I advise the same to you, all of you. Well, that's good advice. This is, after all, a very aggressively Calvinist period. Let me offer my condolences to all of you in this generation that will have to grow up, live all your lives with the idea that sex is death and that the rain is poison. And now they have the sun will give you cancer. And now the Surgeon General is going to tell us that he will get down to things like mead and near beer. Yeah, it isn't the law that bothers you so much. It's being chased around and scorned by your ex-peers. And Jesus, I would have to run, scurry like a rat from place to place. I can't afford to feel guilty, and I don't really think I am. But for some reason, I have lived for 26 years without a job and 25 without sleep. I've never claimed to be anything but a nice guy and an athlete. And it's true. I'm a judicious user of drugs. Now keep in mind that I'm a doctor. And plus I am one of the highest living authorities on that subject. Well, who else? They're all dead. Shit. Well, if anybody had any DMT right now, I think I would share it with you. Somebody described it to me once as like acid, except that it's so compressed, it's like being shot out of a cannon for 45 minutes.
So now that I've offended people, let's offend some more people. I'm going to tell you right before I start this is the third take. The topic is so touchy that every time I try to explain myself on it, I just felt myself saying, "Oh shit! How big a hole you want to dig, Ken?" Well, let's try this from a perspective of an atheist point of view, a liberal atheist who's also independent. I like Bernie. I caucus with the Democrats, but I'm independent. And my perspective, I'm not a racist by any way, shape, or means. But I do, and I try to understand why it's a very intense subject, especially with African Americans, in particular amongst themselves. I try to respect their opinions. I don't look at people by the color of the skin. I judge them by the content of their character. But I do understand that in the back of my head, subconsciously, there may be points in time where that thinking is irrelevant because instinct kind of kicks in, and I kind of like if you're on a bus and you see someone who looks like a gangster. Right there is probably an example. And your seat's the seat he's going to sit next to you on. You're more uncomfortable than if, say, an old white guy had walked up to you and sat down, or even better yet, a blonde hot chick sat next to you. I understand that subliminal, that unconscious battle that goes on in your brain day in and day out. I do. So even as a white atheist, liberal, independent, whom I can say I'm not racist, I am not racist. But can I control my subconscious? Can I control the events that have occurred over the last 200 plus years? Obviously not. I have no control over the culture of this country. And I have no control over, subconsciously, that culture having some effect on my way of thinking. I can't do anything about that. Is that a defense? That's up to you. But the topic of discussion I wanted to have at the end of the podcast tonight was about the use of the N-word by Bill Maher on his show in the jest of a joke. And I'm not going to, I thought about it, and I did the previous take, use the N-word, and I thought about it, and I thought, if I'm going to defend my opinion on it, I shouldn't dirty it by actually using the word. It's not important to use the word to get my point across. This particular case, in the jest of a joke in response to a Nebraska senator saying, "Bill, we would love to have you come out here and work in our fields." Bill responded, "I'm sorry, but I'm not a house N." The N word being the N. And I think that the response by the crowd was a gasp to start, but at the same time, it's Bill. This is how he is. He's a comedian, and we're kind of socially adjusted to comedians making their living more and more over the course of time on the edge, taking chances. Kathy Griffin took a huge chance, and it backfired. But should she be, as Bill did so gracefully defend her, should she have to disappear now? Should she have to go away for what she did? No, it was wrong. Not every joke is a hit. Not every, as Bill so eloquently put it, not every quarterback throws a touchdown every single time. You throw an interception or two. You fumble the ball. To Bill's credit and to Kathy's credit, they both apologized for their inaccurate understanding of where the line shouldn't be crossed. And I thought the part with Mr. Dyson and Bill went over well. I don't think that Mr. Dyson came off as being hypocritical in any sense of way of the form, and I don't think Bill came off as being hypocritical in any way of sense of the form. I think the discussion that lasted a half hour, and this is the first time any show I can remember Bill's opening guest one-on-one was so long that only half the show was available after it for the panel, which happened to be, by the way, 3 blacks to 2 whites, if you don't count Bill. Whether that was intentional or not, I think Mr. Dyson's appearance was timed differently from when it would have came on. I don't think the rest of the panelists, I think the rest of the panelists were pre-scheduled, so it just happened to work out that way. And if you watch all his shows, and I hope you do, because they're very good shows and very informative as well as entertaining, you do usually see a variety of shades and genders on his show. And I don't think that's intentional. That's just the topic of conversation and the people that are important to him to discuss that topic of conversation at the time. Because he doesn't see, I believe he's like me, he doesn't see colors. He sees content of character. But of course, the timing was very ill time. After Kathy Griffin had just been fired from this prestigious co-host of Rockin' New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest, which I'm sure she was mostly relieved more than upset about. Because now she can actually enjoy her fucking New Year's Eve instead of being with this vanilla shake character who seems to have a one-hit pony. It was ill time though for Bill, because what of course happened was the Republican response, predictably, HBO should can him. He should be fired. He should be fired. Can you imagine Republicans being upset about someone using the N-word on live TV? I can't, but this is what happens in our country right now. Like I said with the Trump thing, everything is partisan. Everything's partisan. When it shouldn't be partisan, but it is. And anybody who tells you is, I'm looking at this a non-political viewpoint is a liar. Basically, they really are. This is all political. Everything's political. His show's political, so why shouldn't the response to what he said be political? And it was. Do I think that Bill Maher actually ever considered his job was actually on the line tonight? I don't think so. Like he said, he's been on the air for 20 plus years. Yeah, he got fired off his very first program, Politically Incorrect. But he was defending Muslims attacking and calling them brave, attacking the World Trade Center. That was also very ill-timed, but very ill-timed. This is something that's been going on for generations. And the implication being that by calling himself a House N, he was slapped in the face, as Mr. Dyson said, to the people who believed he was the defender of their rights. Well, I think it was more for comedy, and it was more, it would have been better apt if he could go back in a time machine, and Bill Maher could go back in a time machine and have a different response, looking for humor. Would have been more of a white collar, blue collar joke. More of a Trump or something type joke like that would have worked better for him. But it's live. It's not rehearsed. He's, like I said, walking this fine line between being entertaining and political, and at the same time trying not to upset certain groups. How you do that without occasionally upsetting the group, even when you sport. Very hard to do. I'll finish with the final response that came about his night of apologies, as I like to call it. Ice Cube coming on, and he didn't attack Bill. He attacked what he believed Bill kind of represented unintentionally. He attacked the people who think it's okay to use the N-word because they're in with the bros. They're part of the group. They either have, he said, either they have a black girlfriend or a black boyfriend, and that they think gives them some privilege to use the word, and that they own that word, and therefore it's not correct for anyone of non-color to use that word. I disagree on 100% with that analogy. And I'll spend the last 10 minutes of this podcast explaining why. And I'll probably get hate mail if there's anybody who actually doesn't want to listen to this show. And I'll probably be called a racist for it. That's fine. But if the N-word is so offensive to your race that it brings, as Ice Cube said, a stabbing pain to you for it to be used by white people, but it's okay amongst yourselves. To me, that implies hypocritism at its highest level. It really does. I'm trying to think in my head while I'm saying this, an example where I could say on the other side of the coin, cracker. Let's go that way. Let's go that route. Cracker. I don't walk up to any person who's white and say, "Hi, cracker." It's not acceptable. It's an insult. And it's obviously an insult for obvious reasons. And maybe it's a stupid analogy, but not really. Because it's offensive if a black person calls you a cracker. So if I call someone a cracker and I'm white, it shouldn't be offensive to them at all, right? That's the thinking here. And again, of course, there's a much deeper history with the word N-word than there is with the cracker word. But if it's so offensive, and it's much more offensive than cracker, why do you use it amongst yourselves? If anything, you should want this word erased from the pages of history. It shouldn't be in the dictionary. It should not be in any urban dictionary. It should not be part of the human language. It should be erased from history. That's not the word you need to keep slavery alive in our minds as a part of our history. That's not the word that needs to be used in order for us to remember and never forget the history of our country and the evil period of time. That's not it. You want to start somewhere, start with the history books that are starting to use less and less of that part of our history in their books. Being educated to our young people right now, it's being diminished. All because we voted in a black president now. The Institute believes it has a power now to say, that's not such an important part of our history anymore. We've gone past that now. We haven't. That's the thing. But to me, to claim, as Ice Cube did, claim that word, is showing some sense of how it's one thing to claim that word, but how that word is used amongst yourselves, that is disturbing. All right? And without using the word, without putting phrases out there, which I'm not going to do, which I had a long discussion with myself about how to go about getting around this without using the word or out putting it in simple sentences that would still be disturbing. The very fact that the word is still there and being used in a positive framework amongst African Americans is disturbing to me. And it's something that I've always kind of kept back in the back of my mind, how to go about explaining that as not being an African American, as being an outsider to it. And then Ice Cube basically stepped on the very chord of my feelings when he sat there and said, "That's our word." Oh, Ice Cube, that should not be anybody's word. That word should never have been uttered in the very first place in the history of our country, let alone being continued to being used. And as long as it's continuing to being used, Mr. Cube, it's out there. And it's going to get used by white people because it's being used by you. And this history we have, this dark period in our country, shouldn't be defined by one word, but by actions that were taken. By the actions that were taken. You put yourself in a position to being the same people in the institutes today, in our education system, trying to minimize the amount of time spent in history of our books, our history books to be taught to our children about slavery. You minimize it just like they do by using the N-word. And thinking that's the word that's going to make it last. No, there's a whole lot more words that can make it last in our history books. Don't be like them, Ice. Don't minimize it down to just a couple words in your history. Make it pages. That makes it last. So that's been the podcast for this June 10th, 2017. I am slowly but surely in drips and drabs getting out PPC 2, which I did about a few weeks ago. It was I'm not sure what day it was. But anyway, yeah, so if you don't get this one right away, it takes some time. I'm trying to circumvent Facebook's attempts to stop me from posting on my group pages in mass. So I have to do it in drips and drabs. So you'll get 2 eventually if you haven't gotten 2 yet. You happen tune into me anyway. Where's to at, you'll ask? Well, you go to www.spreaker.com and you type in the search box PPC and you'll get me. Email me at woodwardken@hotmail.com. That's WOODWARDKENN@hotmail.com. I'll be more than happy to give you the link, and you can, once you get on the link, you can put your little click there for the follower, and every time I do a podcast, it will be on your Facebook page. Good night, stay vigilant, good luck, and stay tuned. PPPC3, over.
The great Oz has spoken.
Oh, tiptoe to the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Oh, tiptoe from your pillow to the shadow of the willow tree. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Lady, if flowers will stray, we'll keep the showers away. And if I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me and tiptoe through the tulips with me? Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Whoa. To the shadow of the willow tree. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Lady, the flowers will stray, we'll keep the showers away. And if I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me and tiptoe through the tulips with me? And if I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me and tiptoe through the tulips?